Let me see this one. Cyril? Jita? No good?
Give me a sec, bud.
Alright, buddy.
Alright, chief.
Alright, champ.
Alright, buddy.
Alright, Get it yet, support?
Yeah, so you're right there.
Yeah. Alright, great. Jita?
Yep.
Motion?
Yeah.
Advantage 1 is resiliency. Government crises are inevitable. Only developing physical resilient systems to prevent them from escalating to extinction. So, 22, during the company get the world economy, confront a crisis, the company gives them to us and aided in a boom exchange. Reach troubles to the walls and aid to inflation crisis become known markets based on the cyber sectors of water looms. Express the system of trade, system grounded in political support, economic stability, industrial spend, market system, policy, external forces, rate, really trade, economic, crisis, resilience, system, knowledge, resilience, and upsets, and preventive, water cyber, spiral, these extinction resistance are inevitable. Only once they occur, and only jobs guarantee prevent them from spiraling limited fallout. Here, on the 18, when economic and justice and every formulated forces of the workers, the economy to spending increase of jobs are growth without the changing orders to system down, but uncertain parts of the spending for the social cycle and expenditure stimulus in the economy turn recover recession progress the economy spending signal above the private stabilization. Numerous factors make a recession likely in the short term. Conference board 615 forecast weakness that will intensify the recession in some new sector for inflation and fight hard to damage and GDP growth will slowly expected like design to the phone amount of introduction and dependence on the reduction and discretion in all the data for spending track the growth in inflation around with 3% of the plan of recession quality 1 quarter the headwinds of the recession US economy grow by negative 1.2 quarter 3 but it's only 1 quarter 4 1.9 quarter 1 week's operation waste activation and it ensures economic growth and a temporary asset bubble only which operation you stop with the blood future crisis while checking enough productivity and overcome waste sector stagnation rate at 18. The young Americans leave the labor force and private and engaged workers drop out of the price at 3 yards a week operations activation of short with expansion couples to accept the price of the increase for the agility for the rest of the bottom bubbles versus the sector with stagnation once the fish not the band of work and get the work effective in the order step to labor like the reducing the center of the official cycle system to keep growth and to do a stability away from the undergraduate demand of productivity growth cycle economic stagnation of crisis seller makes nuclear war proliferate US-China war and every great power conflict more likely Oppenheimer 21. Several stagnation increases like globalization, multipolar international the future rising into water, low down to the government spending money, more to spend the infrastructure, the recession, the government strange orders, for such a little bonus, celebration, the talks, the security, the worker investment, economic weakness, the allowing, alter institution, and geopolitical after institutions, independence, the order with feelings, curiosity, and one high political points of isolation, company relational experience, or something, and every institution said, again, the person down some of the organization, or common house, and getting down, a prolific, as the new stations, and instructions, and instructions, and American growth rates and company to go to the powder relative line growth is opposite waste stagnation of everything stress but is less about the sector the territory powder essentially predominantly renationalization dependent by second Germany Pennsylvania China and these are the great and random labels size of the rest of the US solution includes and under control of the PC national accelerated rate under charges a battle global war nexus over restore inevitable unless the US avoids relative economic decline host 20 isolation this is on the opposite of global warning the man with research the for insular risk of constant wars and crossroads and meet a little number of content with emerging problems like running rate but based on like interaction really but emerging global challenges like health and right personal random creative plan enables the amount of flexibility preventing economic shocks from becoming a major crisis. 22. FGT is tremendous potential for influencing positive economic efficiency, creating environments, innovation, flexibility, labor markets, workers, declining firms, and economic debate for what against the social HG, development, productivity, deployment, exposure, work, training, opportunities, beyond design, security, support, health, and life skills, HG, increasing productivity, Saudi vote for inflation, and increasing interest to agenda, competitive for changing more environment and wage, HG offers sustainable pollution, work, option, reduction, once economy balance the factor in private sector, rehire these employees, the plan, avoid transferring by maximizing effectiveness for prices, auction, and rules, and systems, and shirking hook. And then 17. Policymakers must ensure the gas restriction, and avoid pressing incorporated competition structure to the public would study involvement the most successful most but the public condition for the army to the average world and laces by shirking by on informal age resistance and the world will time like would practice persons also build oversight will 100% of the independent to prevent patient is the only shot but job guarantee tax the other lace for root of inequality corporate dominance building social solidarity hook 17 economic unsustainable social directive the obvious rest of the problems social programs engaging to for society social Malaysia and inequality the state of wages the ministry labor force and participation as disability no job time possible as for never did not exist without position of middle class race because the original inequality rate low social mobility inequality causes military aggression extinction camp 19 Well, then political inequality, social disintegration, civilization of power, social distress, and handicaps, and ability, economic, ecological, economic problems, and my solidarity, this fall, stress, climate, breakdown, and increase civilization, terminal loss of the end, heading of lives, how it becomes an extinction of our species, and unchecked war with power, and incentivizes all threats of collapse, but is a regulatory authority, sever, 21 years, or 3 studies of excessive corporation, who lives in the studies of anticipated rights and increase of the of small and all, human ability, unit, dominance, expanded ability, and environments, has started this one, the state regulatory authority, the bulwark, to overwhelming lawmakers, they see into war, masculine innovation, technological race, 18, the abolition of drugs, and the war, must preserve the planet, the damage to the fraud, nuclear war, biodegradation, chemical basis, extinction, real damage to region, research, help to manage interaction with decades of regulation important. Therefore, the United States federal government should substantially increase the fiscal redistribution in the United States by adopting a federal job standard to invest in infrastructure. State fiscal judgment is imminent during budget crisis. 23. The data fluctuates the budget over the state fiscal judgment the state local budget declining because they force the contract increase of federal ethics and increase some of taxes. The state fiscal first taxes the state of the $5 revenue for the state of the bargaining increase pension and that pension debt that ensures state government's failure since their funding is currently restrained but the plans all by using only federal funds. Our carpenter 20 federal state local services and officials the lowest workers level of half centuries higher. That's like making jobs and right to through parties and power to price and employment states have legal authorities that actually capacity services down money to states. The powers of the house was for them to go to the absolute state levels of provide regional employment deal, worker closely job guarantee, stabilize state revenues without triggering inflation. Paul, Title 18, restoration of the local state tax bases which 81 degrees, employment and increase on the tax revenues, resource flow to the communities high, unemployment of drugs and resource stabilization, general function of global stabilization of unemployment during townships, and expanded the function of the one door, to provide during the president of the able to American factor work facility infrastructure, including grants and utility plans for to inflation. That's all state government should keep revenue emerging protect regulation. But 22 when it comes to the adaptable policy on the ground is nice, but it's a federal system adaptable what popular state recognized by central innovation filled by policy government federal system flexibility and state policy innovation element of environmental policy and energy security federal state level state direction to the energy public to support the vaccine again all of the state world is sustaining democratic across the states that allows the democracy ready global development for state and upon default partnership with person of liability to the US exchange back 14 emergency release of unprecedented global diversity to opportunity dimension of probability to happen if it's 5 nuclear war attack a great diversity of antivirus and pandemics on unprecedented scale this system catastrophic consequences existential independently plans solve regenerative act water pollution for act and sustainable ocean farming on 22 the regime mandated on every sort of research of the rights of progressive sustainable fishery ocean farming rate or just to be big ideas of beach practice and water crisis the shorter vision and research and active license and the average and farming by president water pollution water table and renewable table small infrastructure on the version of basic and out of radiation of the planet vegetation fortified land and future pollution is essential consideration of commerce in the US coronavirus time to provide extinction rate 22 the boundary for more 70 pollution nuclear rate of rather large pollution consumption of high practices make the ocean on the habitable and universal constitutional but pollution the US might value many times to figure out solution improving soil health resources productivity alongside global food security reverse cause aggressive 22 have access to productivity real grimmer civil damage reduce soil by 40% in the Midwest 1 year analysis found great soil 60% lower yields and global food security reversal on the liberation and stability increase stability increase soil fertility levels in the middle analysis increase as soil levels and rates of the year of the global food security standards so it's the symmetric capacity for retain water and increase and greater demand for soil health increase of the soil structure improves to retain more water makes the soil more resilient to the ability to store water and will be crucial for ag in the US food I have time for another card food insecurity negotiating for a crib 22 humans have fought over food for 20,000 unit food food security primary shoppers and modern conflict hunger so government failure civil wars and refugees economics reaching over the border high rate risk of food failure conflict and refugees ready for rise to nuclear war. Sustainable U.S. ocean farming solves overfishing. 19 unsustainable fishing, 11 overfishing, more than the place of short habitats and ecosystems of road, coastal economy, skill animal aquaculture, but increased personal research U.S. like behind aquaculture, domestic biofishing, non-meat amenities, sustainable ops, and the little impact practices, the winter season, fish escapes and damage, habitats, the impacts, fish wars, extinction, grips, 19 overfishing, collapse, and the Lord fisheries, increase, potential water remains, sort of fish wars, ending over 100 nukes, and civilization, nuclear winter. Epidemic regimes to deploy atomic weapons, equal invasion, food insecurity to drive a nuclear war that is most likely scenario for termination.
Are you good?
Yeah.
I assume you're sending these out. I mean, yeah, just send them out during process. That's fine. Good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Huck evidence says the contracts be selected by a blind auction. Do firms just bid on which projects get worked on by jobs guarantee workers?
The blind auction isn't like firms bid. It's like the federal government sets up an auction such that like different projects can be auctioned off. So like where people go for the jobs guarantee will be auctioned off. Not like companies will increase bidding.
Unchecked corporate power bad. How does the AF solve unchecked corporate power?
We think the AF causes like corporate responsibility. It talks about state regulatory. A separate evidence talks about state regulatory authority.
Wait, how does the AF increase state regulatory authority? Like regulations are getting slashed. You give jobs to poor people. How does that increase our regulatory authority over like oil companies?
I mean, the jobs guarantee makes it so that companies have to innovate. They have to make wages high enough and make jobs like
your
fair
internal
enough
link card
so
is
that,
about companies polluting rivers and like making
I mean,
nuclear
the jobs guarantee
how does raising wages like
we think the internal link is about overall corporate responsibility. The separate
so
evidence is good about how
corporations are responsible to pay
can-
their workers more. How does that make them responsible to not cut other corners?
Well, I mean,
Like,
if they cut other corners, then they'll just go to the job guarantee. Like that's the point of that.
The internal link is about reducing
Yeah.
their broad
We're-
influence over the government by increasing the workers' power in their share, like the worker-employer balance. That decreases like the corporation's influence on the government, which prevents them from like gutting the administration.
Okay, so does the plan result in like new like lobbies?
Well,
How does it
I don't think
reduce
it would
corporations'
result
hold on
in
the government?
lobbies. Like I don't. Wait, how does it stop corporations?
You've
from being
isolated a
involved?
mechanism for like decreasing corporate power within the government, and
Yes.
then you've just spewed a
We've
bunch
made
of
a
words
Spielberg
like
claim about how
responsibility for
corporate
wages.
responsibility
There seems to be
solves
no
these
linkage
emerging
between
tech
these two things.
problems. Like the
Okay.
linkage is the separate evidence. You know,
that does not say anything. The internal link between, I guess actually, who does the plan tax to fund the jobs guarantee?
no one.
Okay.
Normal means is that
Trinova says that Big Ag has consistently produced soil erosion, and then it never says that soil erosion will get any worse. Why haven't food wars happened?
Why haven't food war? Well, the internal link is that like it's. I mean, I'm not going to give you a date at which.
I'm not
nutrient
asking for a
pollution
date. I'm
impacts
asking why they
essentially.
haven't happened. Trinova says that they have consistently produced erosion, makes
Yeah,
no
which
predictive
makes the
plan.
impact the brink. The brink is now. We need to stop soil erosion now.
Yeah.
Okay. The food insecurity stuff, or not food insecurity, overfishing. How does the job guarantee solve?
Raleigh.
Yeah. The Chernova evidence, the 22 card says it would result in sustainable aquaculture, which reduces overfishing.
Okay. What metrics does like the government use to select different contracts or projects?
What do you like a measurement? Like what do you?
Yeah,
mean?
Well, yeah, you have set your Huck evidence, and you just said in cross-ex that like different firms enter this blind auction. What metrics does the federal government use to allocate workers to
environmental
projects?
metrics, like increasing productivity in the economy, that kind of
Which
stuff.
one takes precedent? Like
I mean, it depends. It probably balance both.
they're equally important.
Sure.
Okay.
You want this?
What's the ascent and cross? It's 5 off.
Sure you only have 2 L's?
I felt that was coming.
Sorry, what's the order?
5 off, then case in the order of bonus.
Great. I'm ready.
Yeah.
States, the 50 states and all relevant territories should adopt a jobs guarantee, repeal their balanced budget amendments, and establish anti-recession budget reform initiatives backed by state reserve banks that fund the half-time jobs guarantee. The kind of good solves the issues follow one state participation from the outset is key. Newman 21. State governments have the chance to remake with their workers by guaranteeing half-time employment. A job guarantee restore real employment, observe the half-time relief economic feasible, half-time resilience, some of the political challenges. No, federal programs that be improved. Also, in the state carry opportunity to be monitored for federal policy. The wages and consumption and higher stimulate local economies and tax revenue. Society politics. Normalization passes now, but the window is short. We're consent 613. U.S. society gravity each other for trade and security in the Middle East. And Yemen, Sudan, Biden's cooking reality to establish diplomatic ties with Israel following Trump. Biden's engaging the Libya, giving them China rush flexible diplomatic power. Middle muscle where the U.S. is one to honor superpower working with partners with the deal challenges that are urging the Q Trump over the air from across with UAE and Bahrain over economic ties with Israel. Secretary of the President declaration Biden and President higher on the list. Israel wants a joint normalization when the government approve that negotiations like these triggers excellence in full swing and an FG requires massive PC. Lowry 18. How much does job pay benefits inflation? How will the German give it insurance? short the economy, would you care how much would you go to the uncompensated or you're compensated for Democratic policy wants to trade out some play pieces in line? Would you give up for insurance, major job, the ITC allowance to the plan? And bank when Democrats can't support, they cannot support because the Democrats creating it. But Biden's PC is key. Raven 517, the White House push for Saudi Israeli peace deal could not about legal capital deal could be historically the Middle East peace, the dominant factor more. Because we know relations with Israel, including U.S. Saudi relations back on track with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's interest to intermediate Biden able to see more political support in Washington that could include U.S. subsidy beyond popularity. Area continued focus that increase benefits for improving ties and Iran wars and never lapse in normalization. Biden has to broker a deal to get Saudi Arabia on board. Cast 23 will come first war with the Iran peace to Saudi Arabia. This is not over. Clearly, their class for Iran will happen. Attack force. Israel is not such a river now eliminate. Local conflict will be fault. A complete nail on them. How you throw all help possible with the MBS. There's a window to finance normalization of Saudi Arabia. The keys of Washington, Saudi Arabia, so the culture of the U.S. elections to Biden's local president was this is going to enable China to be sure to lead the Iraq portion of the Saudi Arabia. Already in Iran. There's like everyone wants to benefit from the U.S. Arms sales security guarantees this civilian nuclear program such deals evidence are also about upon the Middle East and the hopefully war and will be a better alternative. And Iran Israel war goes nuclear bears 23 and invert nuclear war with the United States will take place as a result of miscalculation of the national leaders conflict has to be prepared to prepare Israel should be focused on stable deterrence. Side call. The African chiefs of Southern gains Southern masses voted negative to abolish Southern property rights after Garma. Image numbers 20. To decolonize me to bring our patriotism and just likely go quickly ask how does unsettled stuff and bisexual unsettled the institution that person cannot end even some utopia with decolony active security only and recovery and just sovereignty code determination of the sovereignty and settled party rights to decolonization inevitable attackers of the industry of complexity with settled colony state. Especially those who have been settled here. Their political imaginary is racist. Vote neg. Party 12. For utopianism and nationalized dystopias of the marginalized groups. The focus on economic stagnation as a partially obscured population social inequalities experience the nation who is level. Utopias contribute to the nationalization of settled colonialism. Society to be accountable to ethical critiques, able to do so, talking about the relevance of community, because we're to the progress making a better world order, these constraints and consideration, dreaming of a way to be an accessible category, econ to say. Fed rate hikes are cool, winding down, the inflation is reaching equilibrium. Lewis 614, the Federal Reserve decision to say the choice for labor areas system nearing and rate hiking inflation speaking at last year's half of that level, reducing inflation will require more time than maybe willing to hold rates off where they are. The plan ratchets up aggregate demand, compelling rate hikes that collapse the financial system and decimate global trade. Adrian 22, while inflation remains high, fiscal $20 is not warranted. Government should avoid any aggregate demand, aggregate labor shaking avoid inflation and fiscal stimulus to the current environment for the central banks and the market. They may raise for the financial system in the 80s. If that raise causing the collapse in the housing market and appreciation of the dollar, manufacturing was hard leading the protectionism, fiscal shaken. Can reduce trade, touching reduce fiscal spillovers to re-average market 10, 30 sharp projection, the less than percent of marks at the bar from the currency and extinction of 21. A second version would have the police for global security couples and enable version 1 area of several others economic structures included geopolitical alliance, the US and China, global police fell far. I think deadly workforces and nuclear chemical weapons are taking insurgent instances in economic structures. Workforce demoralization puts the biggest threats to environment, acts behind World War II, depression itself, polluting effects include Iran, Israeli war, US China competition over Taiwan, SCS, North Korean proliferation, India, Pakistan, nuclear war, nuclear competition between NATO, and Russia. IRS has said. Iris modernization will succeed now based on careful sequencing that avoids distractions. That restores Iris credibility. Elder 23. 80 billion cash to AI will be having to use administration programs that do successful strategic planning that servicing to show competency and they to be able to get politics and Congress to back down. Enforcement is important for you and you got to get hiring done, training done, and tax on the wealthy, erect the IRS keel. 18. Also wealthy can avoid illness research and hiring less illegal accounting talent, attack police, employ strategies to candidates and years of investigations around understanding transaction and strong credible IRS is key to democracy. The internal link alone turns solvency cane. Turn to the internal legislation so want to ability to cut to funding cutbacks and then get out to anticipate decline in Irish ability to enforce support for Irish honestly the Alex support. You don't different Irish capacity, ability to run the functional government that Irish forces tax over federal government has very quickly, and public support for state capacity to get democratic modeling that solves great power war, Max 18. A different notion in America, this way again, some people also institutions. Part of the federal government of the U.S. is no longer represents ordinary Americans, so long as the measures the new play with transfer stuff, useful coverage on U.S. security. Demonstrate like the world of war, response terrorism, experience, family, peace, refugees, foreign partnerships, there, national partnerships, more stable, peace, economy advantage.
Hold on. Read this. Read this.
See tax interpretation, fiscal reduce workers with taxing and spending, Hicks 86. Fiscal reduce workers with their real money and starting also like government trending and taxing, i.e. fiscal activities, for example, the payments and grocery government to records and the fiscal redistribution. Scroll down to the violation. Violation the not implement a fiscal tax for forward line the app to choose either tax or transfer to stable ground for negative unlimited bidirectional topic, econ advantage. One digits fail, politics 20. A definite topic is the other one. I think Washington is the different first on multiplies the number of teachers to do. We're not currently trained for a couple of the enable the action found who's not crowned. It's the job of the figure out these one of the employee train. Sorry, the next 20 comes to be trying to send to no secular stagnation. The economist 15. That allows you to quickly make 40 years so you control the stagnation and emissions for the growth of illusory the economy looks like more distortion than stagnation. And 3 inequality declining. Write it down on team. Remember, inequality has increased. It's going to be affected by federal government transfer and employee benefits. Starting to casting health insurance benefits, insurance, the gap, upgrading the equality is needed for. The app cannot solve domestic tensions. $50 an hour will not convince the masses that they're equal to billionaires. 5 cannot solve corporate power. 0 wants by increase regulatory capacity. Cost was embarrassing. Infrastructure. 1 no, we're taking back successor. 19. This is the consequences of alarmist technology, the post-alarmist kind of the effects on some of the consequences, the fear of government value class understanding of policy, the treatment class, and very few. So it's your play, your vision, complement many industries, mental have disappeared despite high technology, the effects of technology, studies of technology have culturally affected these effects under some issues, these effects under the effects of geography, material politics, strategy, politics, and cultural and circumvention, and no impact. I'll be 16. Views of like great honors, so global cultural and military advantages of military technology and purpose, how they come to technology will be successful if it's humanity, some of this will complete humanity's all doomed fallacies, all equating evolution with dystopia, that resorts on the reality, fear, are not adapted, and 2, all causes state regulations cannot touch tech investments, but forward actors and even U.S. firms circumvent regulations. 3, cancel industrial agriculture and coal plants without big small farms for labor, that was cross-sex, that's a hook evidence. 4, food security is unlinked from war, cliff. 16. Research not including legal to derive between conflict and inside indirect countries to supervises and construct without having to give the conflict to institutions and conflict strong enough institution to help. 5, no debt doesn't impact on all causes. 2, 15. Companies to all health allergies with only human activities such as existential cultural activities to new jobs over the successful country and active nutrification and HPV leadership and restoring nutrient limitation on the excess long remains somewhat driven by logical forces and it's not existential. Carrot on 19. Relative evidence of unlike which scenario conclusion like evidence of social and outside of various states of fighting and 6, overfishing is a myth. The newest most comprehensive studies show stocks are rebounding price. 20, managers working increasing abundance and new cities giving users optimism of overseas and Dr. City where it said there'll be actually an increase in thanks to cash limits. These give more possibility thinking looming for bills of international like the land they are increasing the 20% of the world catch too limited and fishery features small will escalate oxygen. 21, subject to property rights conflicts the recorders on economic affluence fishery conflicts reduce efficiency economy forces injuries witness IQs and ITQs for limits of conflict the nations of our world diffuse conflicts other claimants activities to larger fish stocks of trading ITQs finding equilibrium allocate scarce resources sufficiently. Comes with a long history, most of them are low intensity EEC, small fighter, remaining ones IQ and ITQs were capable of resolving conflicts. It's very fast and accounts for over a quarter of global ocean.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. The Adrian evidence on the interest rates decide, it talks about like the early 1980s causing these rate hikes and like collapse of the housing market. Why doesn't that thump?
Well, we think a few things. We think the plan specifically ratchets up aggregate demand that collapses the economy.
Okay, the
and we
link
also
card.
think the distinction is that yes, we have raised rates in the past. It's a question of whether the Fed can marshal a hard or soft landing.
Yeah.
That card is talking about the 80s when there were disruptions in the housing market. It did not collapse. It says it hurt those things. But if the Fed is able to successfully adjust interest rates to a Goldilocks area, then the economy will not collapse.
Like the internal link, that's your internal link card saying that in the 80s this happened, then you say extinction.
No, our internal link card says that interest rates can have a negative impact on the economy. Well, we have and we will continue to read evidence that says the plan ratchets up demand to such an incredible amount that the Fed would have to overcompensate with ridiculous, unheard of rate hikes, which would decimate the economy.
Status
Yes, rate hikes have happened before. We'll preempt the thumb.
Status.
Status quo is also logical option.
Okay, I want to go to the politics decide. The impact card, Perez, it talks about an inadvertent nuclear war between Israel and Iran. How does normalization solve miscalc?
The rapid evidence says the deal will be a breakthrough agreement for the Middle East with signal more countries spilling on. It says, quote, Middle East peace leading to a domino effect of more countries normalizing relationships.
Yeah, your impact is about
Israel
miscalc. So, like, how do you solve that?
Well, miscalc only happens when there's no normalization of relations. The rapid evidence says that we would normalize relations, peaceful relations between two countries, which reduces the risk.
Wait,
of
how does
miscalculation.
like normalization of relations, not like how does that stop like a country from
If
misinterpreting
two countries
their?
have clear and open dialogue about their problems and why they're mad at each other, they probably won't nuke each other.
It's
Okay, whatever.
not even
The critique, does the alt advocate giving back the land?
Yes.
Okay. Does barriers, how does it overcome crackdown?
I mean, if you read evidence about crackdown, we'll say it doesn't matter. I think it's good.
Why does
I
it
mean,
not
the
matter?
government would, facilitate the giving back of the land. Of course, you're not going to crack down.
Of
against
course?
yourself. Of
What?
course.
Okay,
Wait,
so
why are you scoffing?
you advocate the government giving back all the land.
Yeah, that'd be a really
Okay.
good thing.
All right, sir.
Clear. Do you not think the government should give back the
All
land
right,
to the people
all right,
they
sir.
stole it from?
Okay. The IRS has said
Okay.
you
Let's
say
see that as well.
taxes on the
Okay.
wealthy taxes on the wealthy wreck the IRS. What's the link?
We think you do taxes.
Okay, where have we read cards that say we tax the wealthy?
I think it's the top of the mandate. If you win, it's not. We'll win an independent link that any source of deficit funding will inevitably come from the IRS.
Okay, that's fine. Back to politics. The link is that the AF is unpopular among Democrats, right?
Not necessarily. It says there are a variety of complexities that come with a job guarantee. It would probably make Democrats mad. It would
Variety of
probably also make
complexities?
Republicans mad because
Okay,
the
yeah,
job
but the
guarantee is
internal
part
link,
of
the
thing.
internal link is about Biden having to use PC on
the job guarantee is
Democrats.
kind of like anti-Goldilocks. It's like the opposite of where you want to be because we'll also read evidence that says that Republicans will use the job guarantee
But
to
Biden
gut
doesn't have to
every
use-
other social
Biden doesn't
safety
have to
net
use
that
PC
Democrats
on-
really like.
Biden doesn't have to use
which
PC on
ignites a
Republicans,
political
right?
firestorm with Democrats, which is what the internal link card is about. So yes, that answers your question.
Okay.
2AC is sin.
I want to go wash my hands.
Okay.
So, alright.
I'm good.
Oh, right.
Am I in the right?
Get him in the spotlight. Perfect. And Ross.
Alright, let's
Okay. Resilience advantage, infrastructure advantage, key, decay, states, interest rates, Saudi-Israel politics, and then the IRS just that. Okay. Should I wait for them? Okay. Is everyone else good? Are y'all good?
No, just give me.
Good?
One and two on the Paducah's evidence list three criticisms. The first is training the off solves that. That's a turn of evidence is they'll train them for their job. Second is firing. We do it. It solves three. The trades off with the private sector. One, no link to that. There's a counter-cyclical nature of the thing means it will not trade off with the private sector. Two is linked to the plan transitions workers by training them and getting them in the private sector. So it's actually not better for the private sector. One and two. The economist card is wrong. The archetype evidence says the status quo relies on unsustainable practices where we do trickle-down economics and it relies on just injecting stuff into the economy, which is not sufficient and not sustainable. The card is bad. One, it's the highlighting it's highlighted straight, so there's no warrants in it. Two, it's about other countries, not the U.S., which the Oppenheimer evidence is way better on secular stagnation. It causes exchange into select multipolarity, causing existential transition, worse nationalist aggression on the U.S. based order of France, such race out to Oppenheimer and the Haas evidence. 1 and 3, the economy inequality decreasing card is wrong. The church with evidence says immediate wages stagnating, yet millionaires are increasing every single day. Evidence is more recent and actually cites real studies. Our evidence just says that social spending has done some good stuff, not that it's decreasing actual inequality. That inequality will cause extinction. WD future soldiers and sharks new tech guarantees spread and actions threats. That's that's not the Pinkerton evidence. Unchecked corporate power impact 1 and C4. Yeah, the cancel off tinges is not our term. Like we're not reading a Civil War pack 1 and C5. The cancel off corporation. Yes, we saw, but we increase the power of the workers and the context of the corporation. That's the hook. Evidence that solves for extinction. Unchecked corporate power. Got to rate the code, the regulatory state, creating new scenarios for extinction. Now the infrastructure advantage. 1 and C1, the Chester evidence, it relies on past examples, but that's wrong because we need to be predictive with our the technology because they're increasing now and they're rapidly accelerating. We cannot actually solve for them. That prevents accidental tech desires of biotech, AI, and geoengineering require tailored and adapted solution by state governments. That's the best evidence. LB evidence just says reg solve. That's wrong. The regs don't solve right now because the states like the funding too. The better evidence says the states need funding to solve and to develop innovative solutions. Now 1 and C2, the global law causes this wrong because the better evidence says the states co-op globally, which solves it. 1 and C3, they can't solve, does not understand what the auction will look like. The Fed will choose the companies that are most environmentally friendly, that have the jobs that actually were most productive for society. That solve nutrient pollution, dead zones, 7 double study cause marine blooms, the second of all auction and suffocating humanity. That's Craig evidence 1 and C4. The no food wars, the crypto evidence is way better. It ties to peers. The clip evidence is old and it's non-conclusive. It just says there's other factors, but we think food insecurity is the biggest. Crib evidence cites 20,000 years of data tests that insecurity causes societal breakdown, civil war, bellicose action. That's the crib evidence 1 and C. The key evidence about warming 1 and C6. The fish wars will kick it. Not going for it. T. 1, we meet A's textually anything else results of additional combination of vagueness and non-risk. 3, V is functionally 2 ways. 1 is the plan can use tax revenue other programs used currently. B2, federal taxes are overall progressive, so taxation later. The result of the plan's deficit would meet their diversion topic. Misunderstands how the federal budget works. Here, number 18. Programs that not be funded, pre-funded via tax voters are appropriate head to time collection and reflux amount of collective errors in the economy in opposite direction of needs and recession. G requires funding when revenues and refund is impossible. 2, counter-rotation and physical redistribution is, of course, not a one piece and usually transfers are increasing in Jesuit. 17. Physical conditions, of course, not one piece of returns play. The two modes of distribution tax and transfer returns to the party by the tax in the market by transfers of distribution more product transfer the tax the US 6% of all distributions received by tax the tax ring on face by transfer made a major weapon redistribution. That's best. AF ground their term. Green lights, taxes, and transfer makes sports for 4 minutes. The 1 defending against 13-minute block after spending is the only Fed keep warranted Tate's dominated top go through in fairness. B's predictability are outcomes for the most advanced data set of fiscal redistribution. Hicks evidence only defines FR for the purposes of their paper and reflects how the budget actually works. Crossed by the turn of F from above. C grammar but staff grammar 95 to 30 degree and it's several centers several and can be A and B joining later several the meaning of it and is usually several 4 no neg offense only has 2 F states politics econ sets. In other words, check abuse 5 reasonably prevent substance conduct. Okay. 1 framework way the applicants links to the plans field implications their interpretation boosts the applicant turns defense and office of fairness since the only impact of poor class eliminates the educational benefits. 2 permanent with all overwhelms links that we can solve. 3 exchange not ways going inside and it's irreversible which includes any life including the K. 4 no link jobs guarantees not reinforce the colonial state provides tools for the working class to reduce and growing inequality. 5 rights are the most effective framework for advancing decall life. 20 cold lever lens and dealing to means indigenization believing that organization themselves to choose the rise of the discourse that's their greatest fear because these are tools available to have the track record winning up all possibility applicants that clearly realize that the conversation be used against states in a way differently impose the rights from organization deliberately shows very self-determination within the rights from the being states to define whether they can hear rights are all denying conditions rights of husband travel rules and agency potential for positive change. 6 all cancel. A does not do the app. B it's immaterial and ineffective and combating colonialism. 7 the fiat link is power tag. If we win the plan it's a good idea then utopianism is a good thing to states. 1 permanent shields and benefit the states take the blame and do the work. 2 uniform 50 state field as a voter for Afghan public education for insolvency deficit distorts the literature. 3 states fail. A is spending they cannot print money only the federal reserve can back the funds so the plan requires that's the carpenter evidence. To B is design only the federal alternative. 18 only federal government is capacity to design account of global budget. C uniformity only coordinate federal actions off high. 19 non redistribution official coordination will allow zero increase in inequality compared to centralized redistribution federal government using capital wealth no matter how to distribute every year having speech in the country instead of building financing the liquid states of federal government should respond to inequality assume responsibility for the funding for permanent economy normal means involves local implementation. 5 condos voter disposals. A straight terms maximize and depth 3 2 fair. B fairness F can beat all ideas never imagined. 3 C contradiction best. 3 C answer 6 repealing balanced budgets and is a bad idea and reduces revenue. So 14 BBRs make good have more product increase productivity by restricting borrowing product and international one cost low percentage for the emotion budget will no BR 1 cent deviation increase in the stock of debt increase with a bad productivity for more percent real income balance budget rules or borrowing costs restricting levels of the state balance budget restrictions increase growth interest rates is set. 1 link to the plan solves all future downturns. They are possible the government can deploy everyone in the private sector fires that Chernobyl and Ray evidence. 2 recessions are broadly inevitable outside the plan. A is empirics they consistently happen every 7 years and impending shocks. There have never been years of crises and COVID. That's Chernobyl and Zolic evidence. B black swans, Zolic, such cyberdex, new disease, anemia growth, and other unforeseen factors make crisis inevitable this decade. C 3 is a recession's coming down. Rising inflation, Fed hawkishness, David lending, consumer spending, limited government spending, all point to impending crisis. That's accomplished over 615. It's virtual certainty has our 615. The top research in the university sentence later drive as soon as opportunity with the aggressive rate high Germany's indicator estimates of probability of virtual certainty Congress consumer process having headwinds of cover college registry the paying of the US will say they're in year economy the only one in the states economic shrink in 2044 for the plan's one-time inflationary impact is followed by dampening effect on wage inflation down to 17. The US economy labor markets was are we going to cover out of the state budgets that had tax revenue to get to loans will quickly remove it counter slow while stabilizing by target those who need job of that program and rise in inflationary impact to job community job with their need programs which had other regularly with lead on one time and job at all as long as it not increase the program would ample wage increase the risk of the overly reproductive the program helps over them to maintain the skills and attach the labor force. 5 with internal innovation 2 reasons. 1 A is jobs created by increased aggregate production offsetting increases in demand. B is new edits as the plan force companies to compete storing innovation and increasing productivity which reduces demand pull inflation. Saudi is republics. 1 agreement is possible, but it's what the promise of the Saudis and Congress acting this is the policy given you. The as well as because two Biden publicity of Saudi Arabia is unable to congressional PC did not this had not a dip cap. This said 3 plan popular amongst Democrats drivers about Republicans and the bill. That's the one to see rapid evidence into the reality. 4 normally requires plan to be at the bottom of the docket, which solves the link 5 political capital is fit. It doesn't help political 120. PC is the federal parties out of employers people PC becoming the news on how to control to turn Republican note. Yes, something can be putting off agenda 6 logical policy maker do the plan and the Saudi Arabia result is that the pretty logical debates about what should happen in any other form of education. 7 normalization not key to the impact normalization would Wall 23 normalization what we see general robotics real estate constituency that exists more widely Saudi Arabia and so 7 days for a long time this will matter. 8 no Israel invasion another absence is around any desire to invade Iris it said. 1 covering American society secular stagnation are inevitable set the plan. Those are great effects the global American image and success of the Iris on the single militia. 2 Iris low now burns hard the the difference on death to the callback and billions of the Iris that a quarter will be taken out of death so the never else financial love the long-term structure of the retreat operating fund is that steady us and then give it and instead to spend more and more quickly says an extra funny modification pull the rug out from the these initiatives that's something real a reason funding provides with the tax sector wide and the funding good and limiting hard and accounts on under 2 crucial. 3 knowing the plan does not require tax normally to be based on the fact of least resistance. 4 feels also like it generates funding for the plan which solves
all their offense. I'll go back to interest rates. No impact. Try 19. Diversity institutions can reduce resilience and behaviors, reduce risk of oscillating, offset, reinforcing dynamics. Mark Tran of dynamics. I'm good.
Recent surge after team.
Condo 50 state fiat. I think that's it.
Okay. On interest rates, did you skip 7 through 9? What did you get on that for?
Yeah, I skipped 79.
Okay. Let's go to the on the interest rates this ad, the black swans. You mentioned a bunch of things: cyber attacks, diseases.
Yep.
How does the app solve any of these?
That's not our argument.
What is your argument?
Recessions are inevitable. The plan prevents any recessions because the issue with recessions is that companies lay off workers, which reduces consumer spending.
Wait, hold on. Your Zolak evidence doesn't mention workers. It says things like cyber attacks and new diseases
Yeah,
will
I
cause
just
the
explained
economy to crash.
I just explained.
How does increasing unemployment solve
Yeah,
those?
so those things are what cause recessions.
Oh.
But recessions don't exist in the world of the plan because the triggers of inflation are when these things happen, the cyber attacks, diseases, companies lay off workers, which reduces spending, which reduces overall growth of the economy.
So I agree
the plan
with you.
prevents
The
that
job
because they
guarantee
go.
solves inflation
Well, let me
from
finish.
flashing the
I'll
economy.
explain that, I promise.
Okay, how do you
Then
solve
when,
cyber attacks?
when they're laid off, we don't solve cyber attacks.
You don't
I
solve
just
cyber
explained
attacks?
that.
Or
No.
diseases?
No,
Then how does
it's
the
a claim
economy-
that recessions are inevitable. The plan prevents those recessions from actually lowering growth. That's
Okay, that's fine. The Turchin evidence says millionaires per capita quadrupled from 1800 to 1850. It says there was social strife during the Civil War. It's
denying inequality is not going to win you this debate. It's observably false.
Okay,
That's super
the
not
one,
an
the
answer.
one card you've read that says it's high is citing data from the 1800s.
It's not citing only data from then. It says that average wage income has stagnated over the years, yet millionaires have
Yes,
increased.
yes,
We've seen a greater share of
I
billionaires in the
can
economy.
read you that line. While the relative wage declined from nearly 50% from the 1820s to the 1850s. Where is this
There are other lines in the card that says modern inequality is increasing. I don't have the card pulled
It
up.
doesn't say it anywhere.
Okay, you want me to go read you a line? You want to go down that route? I can go there.
What warrants you think the card was?
Yeah, I just explained this to you. Average wage income has stagnated, yet the share of billionaires in the economy has increased. That's a fact.
Okay, that's fine. Set call, what does the firm look like?
It looks like a combination of giving back the land and giving them jobs.
Do you get to 7 reps?
We think the 1 and Z gets to 7 reps, so we get to 7 reps.
Okay. The state's deficit, the Ray evidence, why are state budgets collapsing now?
I also skipped that card. So.
Okay. Well, it's the same argument from the 1AC,
Okay.
what are the warrants for it?
Yeah, the issue is that states can't print money. That's simple.
What's
Carpenter evidence says that states lack any authority to deficit spend. We've read impacts to why they can't just repeal or balance budget amendments.
The second card says they can just get money from the Fed. Why does that not solve budget issues?
The counterpoint doesn't feel they get money from the Fed.
But your Carpenter evidence says they could just use unlimited federal funds.
They don't have. That's the issue. In the status quo, they do not have funds because after COVID, they wasted all the resources.
How does the app give them funds?
That's the entire second advantage. It says that it will increase the consumer spending, which will increase taxes, generate revenue for the states.
I haven't gotten the doc, by the way.
Understood.
You get it wrong.
Nope.
You said it was the rates TA?
Yep.
Still have not received. Did you send it to the right email?
I think so.
I haven't got
Did you respond to son?
Oh, I thought they responded to Sid and Anish.
And that's why we only use the starter set. Or the
Yeah.
KR set.
That's actually kind of fast.
What was your strategy going to be outside the starter packet?
Button enter. Okay.
Oh my god. Of course.
Bun anarchy. Bun co-op.
Bro, that counterpoint does not compete.
Let it die.
Oh, it competes for like for sure. It competes.
Okay. I'm good when you are.
Let me download it. I forgot this. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Decline outweighs one snowball stretch spread to every hotspot, guaranteeing instant draw. 2, realignment. Nations turn inward to protect their own, cutting off all commitments to prevent war. The Samovic evidence. 3, financial sector heist collapse at 23. The financial system is facing crisis. Confidence fed. Interest rates are deciding the fate of the economy. Higher rates imperil more banks. The financial system is shaky. Finance depends on coincidence. The banks are sound towards advantage. 1 elites. The super rich facing dead ends is the largest internal link to domestic uprising. That's 20 tertian. That's yellow. Instead for reference. 2, governance depression depletes resources, preventing any corporate regulation. Also means that they let big ag fly under the radar. Triggers advantage 2. To 3, it turns advantage 2. Workers are demoralized. Industrial accidents and disregard for tech safety and environmental standards run rampant. That's Samovic evidence. Decline turns the environment. Maybe 15. Pollution and defo improve. It's good with income both your people demanding environmental quality via regulation mechanisms to promote cleaner process and tech growth for innovation to and create cheaper, efficient tech resources growth. Supply capital needed to fund no carbon energy. Whatever slows growth will also slow and clean up and renewal. Defense, bring it here. It doesn't assume the magnitude of the internal link. Rate hikes are aggressive enough to combat inflation. The plan would also bring it all down. And Tran is highlighted to say nothing. Rate hikes now collapse the majority of financial institutions, diversified or not. And Tran was marked way before a warrant. The AF solves all recessions. No, it doesn't. One, it's a time frame question. The AF would create inflation, which solves rate hikes before any jobs guarantee is successful in preventing all recessions. Workers have to get trained, and the government has to conduct auctions to determine which projects to go to before there's any buffer to recession. That's their evidence and cross-ex. 2, it doesn't solve all recessions. That'll be on case. The recession inevitable argument. Zolik's wrong. It concedes existing adaptation. Saw this is Zolik inserted for reference to the decentralized nature of market economies manages complexity. That's 22. New paths to natural disaster, extreme weather. To respond to these shocks effectively is able to adapt and react to advanced economies, COVID infrastructure, the economic system, organized complexity through the price mechanism, productive networks, our self-organized society, wrestling complexity, organized by capitalism in a decentralized way. The conference board evidence says a couple things. I'll answer each one here. 1, inflation is cooling down and Dodge's rate hikes now. This be HWS 613. Inflation slow quoting the case for Fed causes highest. The CPI decelerated inflation at its lowest levels. The house increases driven by rents and car prices increasing in these categories will soon ease and cool inflation. Powell signaled they prefer to skip a rate hike. Economists agree the plan will leave rates unchanged. The CPI is clear and guides monetary policy. Economic 6/12 May CPI is to slow down the Fed signal. It could pause hikes at a time. It is hard to overstate the importance of the May CPI. Fed officials are paying attention to the trend, which is likely to be downward. 2, interest rates fake signals all point to a pause. First start 6/14. The Reserve decision to hold rate signals that bankers believe it is time to hit pause. The Fed's brief hiatus is likely to turn into a permanent vacation. The consumer price index showed inflation falling, that it will continue to fall. Shelter is the largest component of the index of measure rents that suggests rates are declining, aligning with pre-pandemic rates. Current rents would put inflation much closer. 3, consumer spending and credit access are both high. Goal 523. Access activity grew in May, but the most in over year powered by growth demand for services. Outlook brightened. S&P index advanced. The services gauge also increased to a 13-month high, fueled by an acceleration. Business growth service providers are benefiting from consumer spending. Expectations climb with firms being more upbeat about demand and suggesting the economy may skirt a recession. Conference room provides no warrant for why any one indicator listed caused a recession. The SOAR evidence, you misread it. She says the recession was for corporate default, not the other way around. The link turn. The link outweighs. 1 is aggregate demand increases under the guarantee. The plan pumps more spending money into the economy, which guarantees inflation as people rush to spend. That's the Adrian evidence. 2, it's a bolt from the blue. The instant nature of the plan startles the central bank into a knee-jerk hiking campaign to preempt the threat of runaway inflation. 2, 3 is funding. Debt financing guarantees inflation. Cycle 19. Debt repaid through money creates inflation, brings inflation. A sharp increase in the money supply must create inflation. Proponents respond that inflation might be avoided by taxes. There's little more than saying that the government can borrow real resources from the private sector and then repay without transferring real resources in return. There's no debt-free lunches. 4, wage price spiral. It surpasses the Fed's stated inflation targets before rate hikes. As Baker 18, a job guarantee would provide a better option for tens of millions. Public sector job imposed to the floor on wages in the private sector. Matching this wage would be $350 billion a year. That comes to 2.1% of GDP. This brings to inflation. Fed Reserve committed to 2%. That would bring rates soaring. The econ bench. Status quo solves inequality. Right is a meta-analysis of wealth rather than income, which is the best measure of inequality, and finds it's decreasing over time. Turchin is wrong. He's committing a basic accounting failure. He doesn't acknowledge transfers and insurance that close the gap. Turchin's only warrant is the number of millionaires is higher per capita, which proves that mobility is higher, which means that inequality is decreasing. Wage stagnation is not responsive. It's just income, not wealth, which is not a good measure of inequality. There's no war from inequality anyway. Arioli presents the only study on the matter and finds that there's no relationship between inequality and us versus them tensions and desire to rise up. Any other 2AC extension is a blip, says that it increases polarization polarization, which is obviously not a warrant for war and no warrant why inequality increases polarization, but it can't solve recessions or inequality anyway. Versus worker training, it would hire untrained workers who fail to produce real value in infrastructure projects, means they can't prop up the economy when asset bubbles burst. They can't fiat through training. Green infrastructure requires high-skilled labor, which most unemployed people aren't prepared to do, which means that even if they fiat some training, it won't solve. So private sector crowd out the guarantee. No outcompetes the private sector for labor, crushing private investment and hiring. Key to stump the impact of recession. That's with focus evidence. The plan being counter-cyclical does not solve crowd out. That just means that they hire more people during a recession. The plan still allows workers to abandon private projects not covered by the guarantee to seek better wages and job security. 3 is productive investment. The JG destroys this. 2019, a worker would need to produce a little more value and inhibit higher productivity from tech. If job is guaranteed, what happens to the employer wishes to invest in tech to remove jobs for his unions. The plan saves them. Usala 19 at JG means workers being more involved in the strike. The labor participation rate increase at JG would make less sense. Unionization possibility. Public sector militancy being less vulnerable. With looming automation, workers feel that they disposable. JG could alleviate that fear that facilitate growth in wages, crush productivity. Guidance 16. We find statistically significant evidence union membership is associated with a decline in real GDP growth, job growth weekly, average weekly earnings, and total wage earnings. The impact is more harmful for workers' membership is associated with economic growth. Every 1% increase in membership, GDP growth decreases by 0.25 percentage points. You consistently find that membership has negative effects on real GDP, jobs, and wages. This is steady decline on union membership. Be a positive effect on the economy. They price low earners and small businesses out of the economy, offsetting benefits from the JG Newman 21. Union leaders are pressing to increase ranks and secure gains. Work stoppages could push for price for consumers and slow production, stifling U.S. economic recovery. Get the economy back on track. Work stoppages could wind up costing jobs and hurting small businesses. Job growth has slowed in industries more unionized. They cause protectionism or race benefits to aggregate demand bumps. Epstein 16, a labor movement opposed to free trade. The essence of unions and monopoly power. Private sector unions impose inefficiency. Firms the labor strategy pushing harder on trade territories and exerted influence to encourage wars to exclude businesses. You conduct a regulatory fortress that defeats free trade and renders the nation less resilient and productive. The relief abusive from protectionist mass inefficiency, slowdown of growth. They get infiltrated by populists who enact anti-worker reforms, turns inequality and stagnation. Group 21 union leaders face problem. Right-wing ideologues save millions of their members. Those plutocrats achieve public office of the true colors by enacting anti-worker laws. 40% of union members backed by Trump. The million supported McConnell, Cruz, Walker, unionists need to disagree into Germany. The right relief plans Orban. Workers have a radicalized response to that as nationalist protectionist, nativist. Us versus them. Easier to tell working class constituents. Union status doesn't inoculate people versus populism. 5 welfare. JG will be used to gut the rest of the safety net. 2019. Job guarantee, strong appeal to political right dismantle. Welfare states why unemployment if everyone has a job. 100 federal welfare programs will be replaced by a job guarantee. Stagnation. I won't extend defense because the dissent obviously turns it. There's no way the app solves corporate power being too high. Every app justification is just word salad, and I know for a fact none of you could explain how they do it. Corporate regs are in the dumps now. The plan does not fiat new regulations. There's no eternal link to how they get them, but there's no try or die for corporate regulations. Cross-apply cares conceded means no environmental impact from corporate corner cutting. Infrastructure advantage. State governments doesn't solve emerging tech giants in other countries won't pause their military ambition because the U.S. state says it's a bad idea. Raleigh just asserts that states will be able to do FOPO with other countries with no warrant. China is resisting U.S. attempts to exert pressure. They'll definitely ignore Florida saying AI is really scary. There's no emerging tech impact anyway. 1, it's incremental progress. It's slow military, legislative, and cultural backstops prevent snowballs. That's gesture. And 2, empirically fears are overstated. LB 16, each generation fears common because of EDC. The generation of new tech has been all at railroads. There were beliefs 25 miles per hour kill everyone passengers. Divisive saying argument is circular. We need to be predictive. Is fear mongering. AF evidence is warrantless as to why new tech will cause extinction. The AF has no control for the agricultural stuff. The AF has no control over what companies they send employees to. Their solvency advocate says firms will be selected through blind auctions. Mega corporations will always outbid farms. That's when you see Huck evidence. Cross-ex was decisive. Raleigh said that economic productivity would be weighed equally to environmental benefits. Means that industrial agriculture that pumps massive real value into the economy will always win against tiny hippie farms that might be more sustainable, but there's no food wars anyways. One is research. Zero studies indicate a clear link between food shocks and conflict. Empirics don't cut it, but if empirics are wrong anyway, thumpers disprove them. Shocks happen all the time. Food prices are mitigated by the international community, and people make do with less. That's Cliff. 3, if you're hungry, how are you fighting? Must be at all 18. A little scholarly man, the reduction in access to food increases the probability that the conflict will break out. More people in the biggest starvation are not justified as results of violence. By the carded violence. Empirics from 20,000 years ago don't matter. Those are cavemen fighting over fear, not food, not people now. They dropped all causes to dead zones. Nutrient rebalancing happens all the time in nature. It means there's no impact. Also not existential. Conceded care, adaptation, boom, boom.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Uniqueness, the inflation card says it decreased in May. We've read evidence saying that it's increased over the past year.
No.
Why should we prefer your evidence?
Well, you've read evidence that says it's increased in the last year. We've read evidence that says that it's at like an
decreased
all-time low.
only for the month of May. It's broadly increased.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Okay, fine. What card do you have that says it's increased like broadly over the course of many months?
None. It's decreased.
It doesn't even say it's decreased. It said it slowed in May.
Yeah, the inflation rate has decreased.
Okay, what piece of evidence?
The slope of the derivative is less.
Side. What piece of evidence substantiates that?
The CPI card. I can find it if you want.
It says inflation slowed. Different.
Yes, that's exactly the point. The Fed will not raise rates when inflation is slowing dramatically. Inflation is always inevitable. Prices aren't going to go down.
The interest rates argument says that at least temporarily they've hit a pause on interest rates.
Well, yeah, I mean, they'll
Why is
probably
this-
be rate hikes in like years. I mean, rate hikes are like a common part of the Fed's toolkit. They won't happen right now though, which is what triggers our impact.
Okay, the Baker evidence, it doesn't assume the wage floor. It said the 2AC evidence says this. There's not an answer in the 2NC.
What, the Baker evidence?
Yeah.
It doesn't assume the wage floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. It does assume the wage floor. The plan sets a floor on wages. That's our argument.
Why does it like trigger interest like rate hikes?
Well, it triggers inflation. It increases the bargaining power of labor. They're able to go ask for higher wages, and then corporations jack prices to compensate from the losses from those wages, and then that's what inflation is. Higher prices.
The Turns
Fed,
case
rate
about
hikes.
demoralization. Can you explain this?
Yeah, economic decline means workers are demoralized. They can't, do anything.
So you don't think a jobs guarantee might bring morale to workers?
Definitely not. I mean, especially not since it caused a recession before the jobs guarantee does anything.
Okay, that's fine. The right evidence says it never really says that like raising interest rates will collapse the economy. What's the warrant for it?
Well, no, I mean it does. It says like it would make borrowing money impossible, which means like no business expansion, no new opportunities. Also,
Right.
not an argument in the 2AC.
Sure, there's been inflation in the past. They've raised interest rates. It hasn't collapsed the economy.
Yeah, again,
entirely.
the plan is like an
Impact.
unimaginable level of inflation. Like you pump trillions of dollars into the economy, you set a floor on wages. Like both of those things are like utterly
Okay,
unheard of in American
that's-
history.
That's silly. Okay.
It's really not silly.
Standing
Also,
evidence.
not the 2AC.
Why does a plan reduce productivity?
Stanley evidence. Standing. Well, a lot of reasons. It trades off with other private sector employers, which are more
So,
productive.
just
It
the private sector
disincentivizes
argument.
technological innovation, which
Why?
is key to keep real value.
Why?
Because they're just, they're doing shit with
Yeah,
their
you
job
just said
guarantee
the
workers.
plan balances productivity and environmental concerns. How does it not solve this argument?
Well, no, like the plan attempts to choose contracts by balancing economic productivity and environmental concerns. I'm not spotting you solvency
Have you
when I
made a
say
solvency argument that we cannot do that? You just
that.
made
I've
claims
made a
that,
lot
like-
of solvency arguments. Yes, that the plan would be
Okay,
bad for
you haven't-
productivity.
That's fine.
Center across. Here is IRS. Normalization. Set call. Then states and T. I'll say that one more time. IRS. Normalization. Set call. States. T. Good.
I don't have it.
Raleigh.
Here it is, sorry. Alright.
IRS, concede resources low now, takes out offense. Normalization, concede no I run more, takes out offense. Set call states, perm, just test competition, reject R not team, T. Our interpretation is that as was tax the rich, the transfer to the poor, that takes evidence, our topic allows for nuanced debates on how teams should use funding mechanisms to implement unique transfer programs. The tax and transfer system allows teams to explore how such welfare can be funded in the ways it can be implemented. Our ground outweighs one. Ground taxes are the only stable aspect of every affirmative on the topic. It provides the negative with key offense like taxing mishaps and counterplans. Their interpretation allows AF teams to raise to defend obscure funding mechanisms that make minute changes from the status quo. Two, these limits their interpretation creates a bidirectional topic that allows teams to either defend and enact that only taxes or only disk transfers that doubles the size of the topic, burdening the negative by two topics. I won't look at planets in the vacuum here, rejected. Our interpretation cross-sexing tags, that's best. One, 2 reclarification, creates labor making debates that really trigger the AF. It justifies pasting in the resident, which spikes limits and makes every AF topical. 2, forces the T plus substance to an R, which is impossible. 3, presumption they have no advantages left. The we arguments they have is wrong. First, the carpenter evidence is that state budgets are going to collapse unless they get unlimited federal fundings. The card, the tornado evidence also says deficit spending is key. That's their own tornado. And the carpenter evidence, if they don't do that, then they certainly do not solve the affirmative. It wouldn't be from another category because both of their cards say would have to occur through deficit spending. It doesn't. Their tornado card card, which is about taxes. Is assuming situation when taxes occur way beforehand, but that doesn't matter because it can still be taxes and transferring it afterwards. The Tornado card also has no independent impact because it's still possible, as proven by their own evidence, advocating for doing transfers. But 2C3A, it's non-unique. After round is wrong. 1, there are plenty of apps under each topic area. There are hundreds of subsets of basic income. There's Social Security, federal jobs, everything. Single player healthcare topic is an entire subset under the Social Security portion of the topic. 2 is 2A innovation. 2A's will keep finding taxes, keep warrants throughout the entire year that provides substantial advanced ground, which allows for new apps to be cut and created. There are always new portions of the topic that can be easily explored. 3 is net ground. The net is comparatively worse than the topic where teams can choose either taxes or transfers. This is not a debate about little net ground versus little app ground. This is a debate about saving the negative from an unlimited topic without any app ground. Although overlimiting is also wrong. 1, no link any app that specifies a tax or transfer is possible. Then carbon dividends, GND, Social Security apps, etc. are all topical, which independently disproves the Tornado evidence, which says that it's impossible to do it because all those apps have the mechanism of first doing taxes and then transferring those funds, which proves that it's possible. 2, it's further over underlimiting the app because infinite personalized bias and app choice is tried out of the next ability to engage with the topic. I'll get predictably here. 2C3B. 1, intent to define. Hicks is defining fiscal redistribution in the context of fiscal activities. The Jesuit evidence, it says that taxes and transfers are separate. That's not a definition. Being separate doesn't indicate whether both of them would to be required under FR. It's irrelevant as to whether taxes or transfers, whether transfers might be used more than taxes, as fiscal redistribution would still have to be bought. This is not a definition. 2, context are evidence examining state budgets or welfare policies during the golden age of welfare policies. Say 6. The favorite example of redistribution of the budget of American state governments and essential and higher distribution influences the state budgets, so whether taxes are high but their unions have low, no distributive effect, and across tax contraction and social transfer outgoing on. 7, fiscal redistribution, definition of fiscal redistribution, the money that potential social transfer payments to the poor in the broad sense, the way in which the state extract revenue essentially in short, the effective expenditure corroborating evidence help. 21, fiscal redistribution is defined as transfer of resources by tax transfer of policies from one person to another, and a state collection through taxes, hooks, and Higgins 18. Fiscal redistribution refers to process by which state collects revenue through taxes, spend those revenues on benefits that reduce state transfer, income distribution, and poverty rates, and FR's tax and transfer several 16. Fiscal redistribution and income inequality about by governance, tax planning, and the 2C3C grammar is wrong. It's about the definition of and, which I'll answer here. 1, it clearly defines fiscal redistribution to both taxes and transfers that have to be both 2 and the same distribution requires all conditions prior. 22, and join together characteristics. Meaning all requirements have to be met. Does not mean or distributing is unpersuasive. And means and. Magari 21. And the constructive bias of the years, dictionary slash construction and which is joint conditions, which is not one more, but all. What is it? 2C4 functional limits can solve 1 matter child 18 to the part 4. Topics of 1 tax topics, Social Security, FCG, and B. I know functional limits can solve each way. Separate topics linking back to ground elements 2. I'll answer 3C functional limits 1 by 1. Hold on new. 1 error extrapolation. Anything else with back and the sheets of the debate. States kind of plans functionally use it for the negative because it seems to do deficit spending. Econ is that it's not enough. Every aspect to link turn in. Politics. It lists everything on the topics not functional limit because teams just know how to answer it. I'll go to where's this? States, I think. States. We get what we did on Condo. 1 next lesson topic massive includes healthcare, which is the topic after tax transfer security. Says every app to link turn econ, try to for multiple options, test the app from multiple angles, especially when app sandbag is often still to a C2 arbitrariness. The app can almost find marginally more debatable interpretation which slays the negative every debate. Punishment should fit the crime, respect the counterplan. Dispositional defense. 1, diminishing utility, add more accuracy, peaks and value to the strategic liabilities. 2, skew inevitable T discount speed, highlighting framework case, and dispose bad. 1, definition consensus. There is none. 2, force perms, process counterplans, and will peace plans. 3, cancel off effects. 2, AC dictates the block. I'll get reasonability here. Back on T. 1, it's not reasonable. Unlimited bidirectional topic is much different than ours. 2, T, substance semantics trains students to grapple with the law by creating debates over understandings of the advantages of different interpretations. 3, worsens judge intervention because the distinction between a reasonable and unreasonable topic is completely subjective and diminishing the quality of all theory debates. 4, offense defense with a real race to the bottom, they can win predictability or off ground outweighs.
8, starting now.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. Just go to the
You good? Alright. Good, sir.
2 and 2, 1 is the right evidence assertion. It's better studied. It's a study for over 200 years. It is recent. It says that in the past decade, the million years of statistically increase that means inequality is increasing. The trainings of the Afghan fiat through training. That's the part of the process of terrible fiat. The private sector itself. It doesn't assume that the Afghan countercyclical, so we hire more during recession. And the card they read, it doesn't kill productivity because it only kicks in during recession when the private sector was failing anyway. The unions turn and no link. It says that we need to mold. Get this evidence says we need to mold unions, not that they organize, not that they organize completely the prices thing, no impact to productivity anyway. The property, but turn increasing unit rate, the manufacturing, 13, we can see the United Labor Force, the police, and the quality of wealth concentrated the levels of steam system, raising price units, the economy, here's the worst done in man by putting wages, worst person, environment, work, damage, more economy, but labor, corporation, work units, for races, top race, the bottom, organized for the free economy, help people, but the economy, really wants opportunity. They say populist infiltration, that's wrong. United States being social borders can't change fiscal policy. The infrastructure advantage, the text that they say incremental, but our evidence is only our evidence is ridiculous. It's not fear mongering because it says that AI is coming to using the scientists actually in the AI meta, the mega corporation farmer stuff. They don't know how the auction works. It requires half and half, which means that it requires economic environmental sustainability with economic productivity that overcomes the buyout. The won't go for food war. Actually, the best we evidence is the best equipment is better than the best we evidence study for over 20,000 years. Not just cavemen fighting; it's actual wars over food. Fiscal redistribution can be tax or transfer, does not require both. That's just when Molly preferred outground and weight outweighs the topics and guys for strong DS advantage kind of plans a weak advantage ground 2. Internally take picks to the topic allows the neck to pick out of transfer or tax to the portion of the 1EC pitting. A 13-minute blockade, 4-minute defense of the 1EC makes the debate unwinnable, especially when there's so many potential for plans. Via state deficit spending is the only thing keyword on an already tiny topic where apps have to defend 1 to 3 controversial and popular proposals for a myriad of counterplans. They say plenty of apps, but it's not responsible for arguments about unbeatable neck positions. They say too many divisions is wrong. You can't invent something that already doesn't exist. They say the neck has the next disadvantage, but that also applies to the app choice. First and last piece of the advantage to the app is balanced by the block, the limits up, no limits explosion, literally just one more after error. It only makes sense with basic income or jobs guarantee. The neck ground sub 1 after outweighs that was above 2. Taxes are key mass spending. It's just controversial. The predictability sub going for a proper win. We have just as large of internally to a print debate through a burden of proof. They must win. Fiscal redistribution always requires a tax and a transfer jointly. We only have to show the qualified people. I think it can be either average predicate of 1 size level hold on fiscal redistribution. 2, it reflects the general underspending of redistributive spending, which is debt finance up front. That's your never and regardless of debatability away. 1, community norms, not add quality, term respectability. 2, debatability, important predictability with any human with the brain should be able to see that transfers and fiscal redistribution, both the BI and JG promoters should be funded through deficit spending. Yes. The rate CSI can't go for the EA because he's dropped defense on the only link he's dropped defense. Their only link misunderstood the inflation link to the terms case of obviously these jobs guarantee would solve the work and demoralization because it unites because it brings people together for manufacturing collectivity jobs. The link terms of the solves all recessions. They're only possible when there's a massive unemployment that decks all spending power, but the plan employs an automatic stabilizer when the companies cut jobs. Government hires all the unemployed. That should never enrage. One time frame was wrong. Link can occur when until workers have money and training only takes a few months. 2 was answered our case. The recession inevitable. Sub-recessions are generally inevitable absent the plan winning. This makes their impact totally non-unique. 1 appears prove that the recession inevitable for no more than 7 years. Even if they win, there's nothing immediate. The slow kicks in. Slow kicks the can down the road. That's a sure never. And 2 cyber attacks disease slow growth. Another box wants guarantee recession infected. That's so like the reality says that policymakers do certain things, not that they will. The touristy evidence is not responsible. It's not that the economy solves 3 secular stagnation makes recurring unit crisis inevitable. Justice 17 make us central sanitation job creation spending will be limited scale duration. There's limited supply to sector stagnation will give returns to model sufficient demand. There recession is extremely likely not one spending like a human stock. Consumer confidence government spending is drag or that's conference toward the plans also by stimulating the economy. Choose rate hikes are 100% more likely in status quo inflation has already gone too far to reserve significantly favors rated manipulations. Monetary tool assets are there. That's that we temporarily self rights and rate hikes not that they are low. 3 is shocks over Eurozone crisis and record debt and ensures a recession. The 2 and 1 is sure about slowing inflation, not decreasing inflation. Those are 2 different things. The no wage price cycle of the program sets a firm floor preventing baking out. And in the private sector, the program would act as a buffer stock, losing workers in the companies, increasing wages. No new the frame the link to discover will rise and trickle down economics. So then the inflation linking backwards. None of their assumes that the plans upward pressure on productivity. 2 the 2 methods. 1 the job reduces supply side across by increasing productive job and making infrastructure more resilient. That's while 2 forcing companies and wages to compete, disperse innovation and higher productivity levels. students. The answer, the link doesn't outweigh the both from the blue is wrong. The planet's training pays of debt. The planet's link doesn't assume jobs guaranteed, which increases productivity, wage price, value, essential above their doesn't assume countercyclical nature of the plan.
5D.
I have a strong suspicion it's not D.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't one.
Saddest writing is overview while you're giving your 1 star.
Like an overview.
Of
Okay.
course.
We're pretty good.
Yeah. Go, Cyril.
Yeah. It's. What did I say for the case? Infrastructure,
Infrastructure, then resilience.
Yeah. That's what you said. They have lost this debate. The plan pumps trillions of dollars into a growing but fragile economy, forcing rate hikes that deck the overall American economy, causing hostile foreign policy worldwide and snowballing economic effects as manufacturers goes nuclear. There's 2 frames. First is speed. The plan requires training and an auction process to happen before jobs become productive and pump value into the economy. Means that there's no supply side buffer to any of the links I'll extend to the 2 and R that happened before the rate hikes collapsed the economy, because their next meeting is literally in less than a month. And second is it turns case. They functionally conceded worker demoralization, means that no AI safety standards are coming absent saving the economy. That's semantic evidence. The case extensions were too shoddy. There was no clear impact extended to the 1A architect economic decline, which returning the AI impact wasn't extended enough, and Russell merely answered our impact to the food wars impact without our indict to the food wars impact without extending an impact of his own. The economists said proper. They say that the worker demoralization stuff. They say the JG solves is the only warrant extended to the 1AR. There's a tagline extended to the 1AR with no actual warrant. They conceded the recession happens before the JG is able to solve. At least inflation causes worker demoralization, even if the JG is able to inject value into the economy. They conceded the thesis of the link, i.e. the plan causes inflation, which devalues workers' money, causing demoralization, even if workers still have a job, because the money that they're earning from that job isn't able to buy shit. It means that they're not motivated to uphold AI safety standards or emission regulation, which turns the entire or environmental regulation, which turns the entirety of the infrastructure advantage. The recession inevitable stuff, they say. The empirics, yes, recessions happen cyclically and seasonally. This is not to the scale of our impact. This is answered in 2 and C, not conceded. The Mavic evidence assumes a second Great Depression coming, and the scale of the link is huge. It conceded the wage price spiral. The plan increases the bargaining power. They functionally conceded the wage price spiral. Russell literally only said that the plan is counter-cyclical. I'm not sure if either one of them knows what that means, but that is not an answer to a wage price spiral. They conceded that they set a floor on the total price of labor, i.e. they set a de facto minimum wage that is significantly higher than the minimum wage now. That increases the bargaining power of labor, allowing labor to vie with business owners for larger wages. That causes business owners and firms to increase prices across the economy, causing runaway inflation as workers work to match inflation with higher wages. That's exactly how runaway inflation works. Means that we access worker demoralization even if rate hikes don't happen as a result of the plan. But countercyclical doesn't answer the link. Functionally conceded, not a warrant.
The Black Swan stuff, Terzi is responsive. One-off events are not enough to trigger absolute economic collapse. It has to be system-wide. Terzi says that the mechanisms of growth in capitalism are able to subvert impacts of single black swans, i.e. a disease can happen, but growth can still happen in other areas. A cyber attack can take down some infrastructure, but not all of it, allowing growth to continue. The only thing that accesses all growth impacts in this round is a Fed rate hike that makes it impossible to borrow all money forever. In the inflation-linked thumb stuff, yeah, obviously inflation happens sometimes. It's not the scale of the link. You can see to the CPI evidence anyway that says that the inflation rate is getting progressively lower now. The CPI guides all monetary policy, which means that inflation rates are stopping. And but the inflation high now stuff answered by the CPI card as well. It says that most of the current inflation is caused by rents and car prices, which are about to level out, which means that the Fed will still not raise rates because they know that inflation is about to halt. The increase in supply stuff, it doesn't matter. The wage price spiral happens immediately and outweighs. But dropped a link. Counter-cyclical was a word in the 1AR, not a warrant for why there's no link. Doesn't know what that means. Whatever. Infrastructure advantage. The AI stuff, he conceded AI is inevitable. Russia and China do not care about U.S. states saying you shouldn't develop AI. Conceded in the 1AR. He said that it's not gradual. No warrant. The Chester evidence also says, conceded in the 1AR, that cultural backstops prevent AI snowballs. The no food war stuff didn't extend an impact to food wars, just said that 20,000 years ago doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. No impact extended. The resilience advantage. The resilience advantage doesn't mean that they can solve the dissad. They say that if fiat's training, yes, but you drop that workers are inherently not skilled enough, i.e. building green infrastructure requires a certain level of skill that the current unemployed are not able to match. They can't train people enough to inject value into the economy, which means that they can't solve the impact to a recession. The counter-cyclical thing extended to the 1AR, again, not sure what it means, no explanation for why that's able to solve. They say that the AF doesn't embolden unions. Yes, you conceded the warrant for why it does. This is solid evidence. The plan enables unions to bargain more because they're not afraid of getting fired or losing their jobs. Increased job security enables people to bargain more with their bosses. They conceded that unions elect populists, which is the Guamberg evidence. Populists elect more anti-worker reforms, which means that the net impact on the output of the economy is worse, even with the second advantage. The only answer was that populists don't enact fiscal policy, which is not true. If populists are elected to Congress, they'd be enabled to enact fiscal policy. They also conceded that the AF guts the rest of the social safety net, which means that the net effect for workers is worse. It means that they can't solve inequality, even though there's no impact to inequality extended in the 1AR. Can't solve equality, guts the rest of the safety net. Yeah, it's totally GG.
3 starting. Okay, 1, 2, decide. Okay. Is everyone good?
Yeah.
Foxy flowing?
Uh-huh. I've been flying on my computer the whole day.
Okay.
Close all up here.
Secular stagnation makes recessions broadly inevitable in the U.S. That fosters global liberalism and greenlights revisionist powers aggression that leads to nuclear transition wars as the U.S. tries to backlash against those power aggressing against us. Only the plan breaks that cycle of jobless recoveries that creates a secular stagnation, and only the plan can solve for it. The 200's impact that is set is merely short-term crisis that increases the risk of it. One, will win the link turn to the dissent, which means there's no risk of it, but two, it is not a larger structural claim about the economy, which one the plan solves for. We're winning a stronger structural inevitability claim of the dissent that makes it terminally non-unique, which means the 200 cannot win it because it's so low risk. We're also winning inroads to all of their links. So when the 200 drops, interest rates are high now, and the drops the link turn to the inflation stuff, and does not actually explain the wage price spiral. When we read evidence that says it is disproven, the 200 doesn't even extend a card. The 200's best shot was winning a dissent outweighs case and winning links. That is impossible given the concessions I just explained. The 200 now. I'll go to the case page now. The first argument side makes in the 200 is the training argument. He does not understand what the plan does. The training is not to build renewables that requires a computer science degree or stuff like that. It's just basic jobs that increase the regenerative agriculture, like building cattle fencing or building water runoff streams. That are the simple jobs that'll actually solve all our advantage. But we don't need to win those solve because I'm not going to go for the second advantage at all. I'm just going to go for the secular stagnation stuff and the inequality stuff. But the union stuff, he dropped the 200 dropped the no link argument. So Russell said that the plan does not make those unions successful, even if it increases their power, does not make them successful, and leading to populist power. It is obviously a long internal link chain that has no clear explanation of the 200, which means it does not turn any of our offense, but it also does not turn the
secular stagnation stuff, which is what I'm going for. The gut safety net stuff has no impact because our F says that JG is sufficient to solve for secular stagnation and that other welfare programs are not required to solve that secular stagnation, so it does not implicate the rest of this. This is what the one error said. Russell said in the one error, no impact to the gutting the self-welfare stuff, which means it's not a new answer in the two error. Now, I don't need to extend anything else because secular stagnation is a structural claim about the economy that outweighs any risk of the decide when the tornado does not do enough work on the impact. I'm not going to go for any of the other impacts. There's no other offense on the case page. I'll go to this side now. At the top of the side, there's two framing issues. So I gave you the first is speed. This is obviously wrong because the training process only requires around 3 months, which is a ridiculously short time for us to solve for any of the case. But I know that spending will actually core drive up inflation for a while. So chill. The second argument is the moralization of the turns case stuff. Moralization is only a turns case for the second advantage, not for secular stagnation, which means I don't need to answer any of this. The rest of the arguments I made are just time frame, which I answered about. The plan is pretty quick to scale up because the training does not require much because the jobs are not that difficult. As I explained more on case, the 200 drop, the link to in the channel of Ray evidence says the plan solves for all recessions. All recessions. I mean, no recessions in the future. That means we definitely solve for that. The 200 literally just skipped this and went straight to the recessions are inevitable. The channel of Ray evidence says that the plan increased consumer spending every time we have a recession because as the companies lay off the workers, they'll go straight into the public sector and they'll get wages and they can increase their spending, so it reduces any chance of recession. The 200 no answer to this. It is a auto stabilizer for the economy, which means we definitely solve all of the warrants in the short run. There's other link turns I'll get you in a second, but first I'll do the inevitability stuff. The empirics proof the trend of evidence says we have recessions every 7 years. Well, also when the recessions are coming now, that means that the recession is coming now. Not only the plan can solve it, it is try or die for the affirmative because the recession is inevitable. It takes out all of the disadvantage because it makes the impact non-unique. The second argument I'll go for is the Zolik evidence says that black swans are inevitable. Things like cyber attacks, diseases all make recessions inevitable. Things like COVID obviously prove that the Hersey evidence just says the economy is complex and resilient. It has no warrants. This was a word salad does not solve any of it. Now the other argument Simon makes is that he concedes that the recessions are seasonal. That takes out the dissent. I don't know why he did that. The inevitably stuff, the 200 drops that hikes are inevitable, or rate hikes are increasing now. The Headster evidence says that rate hikes are 100% likely in the status quo, which the 200 is no warrant or answer to. The 200 just asserts that inflation is low now and skips over the second argument Russell made in the winner on the likely now stuff and just repeats the CPI evidence, which just says that inflation is decreasing now, not that rate hikes are low now. The 200 drops it, which means that this set is non-unique and there's no risk of the plan increasing those rate hikes. Now I'll go to the link to it here. The 200 only goes for the wage price spiral link. This is wrong. The 200 drops a card I read in the 2AC. The 2AC also dropped it too. It says the plan eliminates the wage price spiral because it sets a floor wage and prevents the changing wage throughout the economy. The evidence says that if we set the floor wage, there will only be one jump in the wages that is to that new minimum wage, but after that there will be no change in the wages. There's no reason why that one jump would actually cause a collapse of the economy. Now I'll go to the link here. The plan reduces inflation. There's two links for it. I'll go for one is the production link. The plan increases productive jobs and increases infrastructure, which reduces supply chain costs that gradually increases the production, which means that production will then match the demand. As people have more money, they'll spend more, but their production will increase too, which means it'll reduce the inflation. The second is that the plan promotes innovation. The evidence on the 1AC, Zumailer evidence, the Zumailer evidence on the 1AC says the plan increases innovation because companies are forced to match the wage set by the public sector, which means they'll have to find other ways to make money and increase their innovation, which means to increase production, which matches inflation. You can't go over the system when you drop rate hikes. I know.